Hello, welcome to Talk of the Game. It's match preview. West Ham United against Chelsea. Back to the Premier League. Plenty of games coming thick and fast. Plenty to get through in this video, and that's just the striker department at West Ham. Coming up, we've got to talk about One Football. We've got to talk about our boats. We've got to talk about Chelsea. We've got to talk about West Ham and how we think Saturday is going to go. But Gonzo, let's start with, as always, our opponents, Chelsea, please.
Chelsea having a good season. Of course, they had a good season last season, didn't they? Won the Champions League. Tuchel came in for Lampard, and he's given them, I guess, experience. Geo, we don't really know yet whether Lampard's going to be a good manager or not, but I think Lampard was the right manager at the right time. Bearing in mind they had a transfer embargo and had to bring the young players through. Tuchel, I'm sure Lampard will feel Tuchel's got all the benefit of being able to bring in a striker for, I don't know how much Lukaku was, whatever, 80, 90 million, 100 million, whatever the striker cost. Lukaku's not been featuring, of course, recently, but they're still doing well because they're one of the breakaway three, aren't they, in the Premier League? There's three teams breaking away. Chelsea are one of them, and looking pretty good. Rotate a lot, Geo, actually. That's the one thing I have noticed about them. It's very hard to predict what you're going to have a fun one in your Patreon opposition preview because they do rotate a lot and he changes his personnel. And just when you think someone's out of favour, someone else will come in and actually just nicely in time to play against West Ham. I have a feeling Lukaku's going to start this one, having missed loads of recent games.
I think they've been excellent this season, to be honest with you. I think they play enjoyable to watch football as well. I think they've been ruthless. I think they've been defensively sound when they've had to be. They're very impressive all over the pitch, Chelsea, and off the pitch as well, actually. The way the manager conducts himself, his stance he's taking, we'll get onto that with a couple of players as well, is very strong, very, very strong leadership. And I think, if anything, that's what, towards the end of his tenure, I think that's what Lampard lacked a little bit. Perhaps experience, and I guess with experience comes that hardness that you need as a manager, that authority. I think Frank was missing that, but I do think Tuchel is very much benefiting from Lampard's reign. Like you said, he blooded the likes of Reece James and Mason Mount, and even those who didn't quite make it under Lampard as much as he would have liked, like Hudson-Odoi, for example. That small piece of experience he got is very much, we're seeing it now. So I think Lampard's had a big hand in what Chelsea are doing at the minute, but I think Tuchel's very much taken them up another level from where Lampard left them. He's taken them up into serious title contenders. I mean, you see them going on to win the Premier League. We discuss this every time we play Liverpool, Man City, and Chelsea, of course, because like you said, they're the three that run away. From the start of the season, I've always thought Chelsea would go on and win the league. I still think that right now.
If Lukaku stays fit, yes. If they have another big injury to Lukaku and Werner plays up front every week, no. As I think Man City will probably beat them to it. But it's that fine. I don't think there's an awful lot between the teams. And having a striker like Lukaku against a team in City who don't really have a striker could be enough to swing it. But it's good. They've got a good intensity about the way they play. I quite like the way they play. I've never been the biggest fan of Man City's style of play. I think it is lovely, and I do appreciate why everybody else likes it. But I always preferred how Liverpool played because they're faster, a little bit more energetic, and Chelsea appeared to be like that as well. So I would tip them for the title, certainly.
Yeah, I think they've just got world-class players in every position. They've got experience in every position, and they've got a bit of quality. And I know what you're saying about Lukaku, but I think they'd still, to some extent, would they miss him? Of course they would, but I still think they'll get through without him as well, because in recent weeks they've not had him. They've still been winning the games. They still sit top of the league going into this game on Saturday afternoon as well, and that's without Lukaku. He's only played he's probably missed more games than he's actually played since returning to Stamford Bridge. They're managing fine without him. And there's also been other players are missing as well, and that's something that's probably impressed me, is that they seem to have an injury crisis at the minute, but almost all season, Chelsea have been missing someone that would have started their next game. But you don't really feel it, if you like. One, because of the squad, and two, because of the manager. Now, we like a prediction. We've done the title. They're still in another 4 competitions, Chelsea, Gonzo. So I'm going to ask you what you think they're going to win. You've obviously got the Champions League. They're into the next stage of the Champions League. They've got 12 points out of 15, along with Juventus. So one of them is going to finish top. The other one's finishing second. They've got the League Cup. They're playing Brentford in the quarterfinals. They've got the FA Cup. And of course, they've got a funny competition, the Club World Cup or whatever it's called. That takes place in February. I think they're due to find out their opponents in the next few days, I think. So what are they going to win? You've said no to the title, but they've got 4 other competitions. What are you giving them? What's your predictions?
I'll give them title and I'll give them League Cup, just because for the reason that I said with Lukaku. They had a couple of draws recently, and it was at Man United and Burnley. Just wasting chance after chance after chance. I think they win both those games with Lukaku. And Lukaku have played all the games. So I wouldn't be surprised if they got turned over. Look, I'll give them the Club World Cup, actually. Because are they not? I think they're playing. Are they playing Egypt, an Egyptian team in the Club World Cup? Possibly are in the Club World Cup. Palmeiras, possibly. I might have all of this wrong. I'm pretty sure the champions, the continental champions of Africa, are an Egyptian team. I'm pretty sure of that. Yeah, they could have the Club World Cup, which doesn't really count. The League Cup and the Premier League. Sorry?
It does count.
It doesn't, because it's not competitive. I'd say I like my sport competitive. Look, Europe is so far above and beyond any other continent in terms of the standard of the football infrastructure and professional leagues. All the best players. If you are remotely decent in Egyptian football, you'll be signed up and you'll play in Europe. If you're remotely decent in South America, North America, any of the other continents, you're going to play in European football. So I just don't think. I think it's a walk in the park. I think they'll win it easily. I don't think it's competitive.
Yeah, I get that. To be fair, my counter argument is going to be you need to win the Champions League to qualify for it. So it's pretty difficult to get in there. But I guess you say that about the UEFA Super Cup and stuff as well. So yeah, I can see your argument. I'll give them the title. I think they'll win one of the domestic cups. I actually think it'll be the FA Cup and then the Club World Cup as well. So titles all right at Stamford Bridge, according to myself and Gonzo. So Chelsea fan will be hoping our predictions come true. Before we talk about their squad in just a second, we've got to point you in the direction. Chelsea sitting top of the league. But what about the app that's top of the league for football fans, Gonzo?
Well, that'd be the One Football app. But if you are a West Ham fan, and you want confirmation that Lukaku's going to be starting a game, because he hasn't started a game in a little while against West Ham, an hour before kickoff, you can click on the One Football app and it'll have the lineups for West Ham and Chelsea. In fact, before every game, it's got the lineup center, it's got transfer rumours, it's got everything. All you do is you click on, you say which team you support, either West Ham or Chelsea. It will put the respective news from those teams all into one place on an app for you. Best of all, it's free. You can download it using the link below.
Football is for everyone. Football is for everyone. One Football is for everyone as well. Doesn't matter if you support Chelsea, West Ham, or any other team. They're welcome. You get downloaded free, as Gonzo said, link in description below. Now, the Chelsea squad, before we do the players we admire, I think one of the reasons that they're going to do really well this season, Gonzo, is I think they've actually got the best squad in the Premier League. I think it's better than Man City's. They've got, at the minute, a lot of players out. The team that faced Watford, they're missing a lot of players, but they're still bringing in players like Timo and Hudson-Odoi and stuff. And usually when you're missing big players, it's unsustainable. You can't do that. You can't get away with it for too long. Like West Ham were missing Declan Rice for 3 months. We'd suffer. I actually think it is sustainable at Chelsea. I think you actually get away with missing one or two of your key players. Ben Chilwell is expected to be out for the season. It's almost like, well, you've got Marcus Alonso there. You're doing all right. You've still got an adequate left wing back to bring in. Brilliant. Someone that would walk into most teams in the Premier League. And that's part of the reason that I've been impressed by Chelsea. That squad depth they've assembled. But secondly, what do you make of Tuchel's sort of stance over Christensen? He's sort of refusing to sign a contract at Chelsea, and he's sort of removed him from the starting 11 completely. He's been on the bench for the last few games.
I thought he played in the last game or two.
Maybe he did. I know that.
I think he did, Gio. I think he did. I think he played in the centre of defence. Yeah, because I remember watching a game because I really like Rudiger. I've always, as you know, I've always really liked Rudiger. And I remember, I definitely saw him. I saw him. He was on the pitch with Rudiger there because I was watching him. I couldn't quite work out what formation they were playing because then they got the guy. Chabala, whatever. Yeah. What's his name? And I was thinking, is he the brother of the other one who was at Chelsea? Because they had another one there, didn't they? So it's clearly not the original one because he was crap. But actually, he wasn't crap, but he was half good, you know. And I thought, this one, they've got a good defence there. So I definitely played. He definitely played.
Anyway, what do you make of Chelsea squad depth and that stance that Tuchel was taking with Christensen before he played him?
Clearly, he's a man with no moral compass, Geo. Clearly, he makes a stance in whatever the start. I don't even know the story, but he makes a stance, and then he thinks, actually, I've got an injury crisis. He can go back in the team now. No. Rudiger, as I've mentioned, I think he's a really, really good player. He's a threat. As you speak about Alonso, Alonso's a threat as well. He's got these defenders that can threaten a goal. Aspilicueta, I noticed, wasn't playing as much as I thought he would, and he was the captain last time I looked last season. So I really like. It's just so many, isn't there? I really like Pulisic. Always have really liked that player, and the sort of player that you think would be starting for most teams most of the time, but he's sort of in and out. I've noticed Hudson-Odoi actually in the last little while. He seems to. It's a funny one, really. He was going to leave on a free. Bayern Munich on his last year offered 30 million for him. Chelsea got him to sign a contract, big contract, I think in excess of 150 grand a week, which is a lot of money, a weekly wage for an unproven player, which is what he was. I don't know if I think he maybe did get an injury, didn't he? He got in and around the parameters of the perimeters, should I say? He's on the outside of the England team. Got in, played a few times under Southgate, and then for whatever reason, sort of disappeared. Maybe an injury, maybe a bit of both, really. But when I saw him play recently, I thought actually he doesn't look bad at all. Thought he seems to be coming back into form. And Mount, again, the game I watched recently, Mount didn't play in it, or maybe he came on as a late substitute. So he's really, really, really rotating. I like Havertz. I still think Havertz will come good as a top class player. But there's loads of them. You can mention 5 or 6 different ones now, and you're still talking about really good players.
Yeah, I was going to say Ziyech. He's one player I think deserves to play more for Chelsea, to be honest with you. I think it's because I really liked him at Ajax. I was a bit disappointed when he went to Chelsea. You always get those players, don't you? You admire when they play in different leagues, and they go to a club. You're like, oh, do you have to? I had it with Son when he was at Leverkusen, and I really liked him at Leverkusen. I went to Spurs. I thought,
Sure.
That's the Ziyech for me. He went from Ajax to Chelsea. I still think Reece James, unbelievable. He's just an unbelievable player. Yeah, he's probably going to be back for the game on Saturday as well after missing midweek, but he's just coming on leaps and bounds. He's just getting better and better every single week as Reece James. He's by far the best right back in the Premier League as far as I'm concerned. And Thiago Silva, he's still got it. Despite him, he must be about 50 years old now or something. But whenever I watch him and he's playing, he's just class. Some players you watch, you just know they're world class. The way they read the game, the way they get through the game, they don't rely on pace because they don't need to, and that is Thiago Silva. He's just unbelievable. What a player he is, and that's what Aspilicueta is probably going to be trying to do, because, like you said, he is getting managed, Aspilicueta, as Thiago Silva is. The manager's taking into consideration their age and fitness and stuff, so they don't rely on them every single week. Anyway, players all over the pitch for Chelsea are pretty decent. Going into this game, bad news for West Ham fans. First of all, Ruben Loftus-Cheek is in the starting lineup for Chelsea recently, and probably the only player that myself and Gonzo have seen bully Declan Rice on a regular basis. So we'll talk about that more often. And also Lukaku is set to start perhaps on Saturday afternoon. West Ham are statistically, officially, his best team to play against. He's got 11 goals in 15 games against West Ham United, the only team he's scored double figures against in his career. So this is Lukaku's favourite opponent. But don't worry about that. We're going to talk about our striker situation at West Ham. But before we do, it's a home game, which means the boats are open. We're open before the game and after the game on Saturday. So you used to pop along and join us for a pint and a burger before or after the match. We're situated just behind the East Stand, 2 minutes from the London Stadium. You can get your tickets via the link in description or at the pinned comments. Now, Gonzo, let's talk West Ham. What formation would you like to see? 4 at the back or 3 at the back?
I guess I'd like to see 3 at the back, actually. I think so for this one. I think it's going to be really, really tough, actually. And it's not like anything else has been overly working, really. He's going to sit back anyway, so might as well do so with an extra defender. And I think we're struggling in the other formation. We've got to try and find 4 attackers. We don't really have 4 attackers that are firing at the moment. So I think you've probably, let's be fair. If you're asking, and you are, and he is asking for Ty Benrahma to throw himself around and make blocks on our own 18-yard box and something like that. Fornal's doing a lot of running, a lot of defending, even against teams that aren't massive Champions League teams. we're asking them to do that, I think you might as well just bite the bullet and put the additional defender in there and get a defender to do the blocks and stuff like that. So I'd probably do that.
Interesting. I would like to stay with 4 at the back for this one. For 2 reasons against. One, I don't really trust us to play 3 at the back anymore. It's been so long since we've done it regularly. It's sort of like, I'm not sure I fancy seeing it. And 2, Watford played Chelsea midweek. And we're unlucky. And Watford played with 4 at the back. Watford, the one advantage of Chelsea winning, and Tuchel himself said they stole the points from Watford. And I think that's one of the reasons I like him compared to certain other managers in Premier League, particularly that guy over at Anfield. He basically said, we stole the points from Watford. So that's an indication there, even if you haven't seen the game, that Chelsea struggled, that Watford were unlucky.
They had more shots and more attacks and everything.
Yeah, I've seen the highlights, that's all. So I think it'd almost be naive as Chelsea's next opponents not to have a look at Watford and see what they've done right, because they've done something, and I would almost like to carbon copy their formation to some extent. And I think that removes your problem, which is you need 4 attackers. Well, Watford didn't have 4 attackers. Watford had 3. So that's how I would like to see it. So your defence, how would you like to line up in your defence, Gonzo?
I'm making this up as I go along, but I would put Soufal in at right, and as you mentioned earlier in the not some breakfast show, was it player ratings? Johnson at left wing back, which gives us Aaron Cresswell as the left centre back, which sort of solves that perceived problem. But Zuma back in more of his favourite position. He's not at left centre back, in the centre, and I would play Diop at right centre back.
Interesting. See, I've got the same personnel as you to some extent. I've got Soufal right back, Zuma, Diop in the middle, and Cresswell left back. I feel bad not playing Ben Johnson, and he's not done anything wrong. It's just that I think Soufal's attacking side of the game is important to us. I thought he was really, really good against Brighton during the week. We've missed that attacking runs. What's funny?
It's so many games. Who did we play last night? Oh, yeah, Brighton.
I thought Christensen wasn't even the team he's been playing recently. Tuchel thought Christensen wasn't even in the team he's been playing recently.
No one's paid attention to this anyway, so don't worry.
So that's my justification for it. I think it might be a bit harsh on Dawson because I don't think he's been that bad recently. But hey, you have to take into consideration his age a little bit as well. He's the wrong side 30, and he's been playing week in, week out, 2 games a week at the moment. And I think Diop deserves an opportunity. And I think this game provides Moyes with a free hit. Moyes is able to make changes for this one and get away with it if it goes wrong, because it's a reaction from the recent results and performances. So I want to see a reaction. I don't want to see the same team out again and then us not play too well. So midfield, Souček and Rice, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Manu?
Yeah, absolutely. He's got to be in there. I'm working it out, mate. So
right,
talk about yourself for a minute.
Yes, while Gonzo's works out that he's actually doing a preview for the West Ham Chelsea game that he might need to see what team he'd like to see, I'm going for it at the back, but I would like to see 3 centre midfielders for this game. That's the tweak I would like to see. I would like to see us get rid of that number 10 position, if you like. Get rid of that number 10 role and go to 3 in midfield. A bit like the way that Watford played, the way that Liverpool and Manchester City played, that kind of formation on paper. The personnel in there, Rice picks himself, Souček picks himself, and I think that's where you put Manuel Lanzini. I think Lanzini would work well in there with those two. In terms of retaining possession, because we're not going to have much of it, Chelsea will probably have the lion's share of it. I think Lanzini is important in there. And he is a bit of a grafter, Lanzini. He does have that little naughty streak about him, actually, that he wouldn't allow himself to be bullied, if you like. If there's tackles to be made, he'll do the tackles. But I think more importantly, perhaps, it might just take the shackles off Souček as well. Having Lanzini next to Rice actually allows Souček to make those long bursting runs. I was speaking to Gonzo earlier, and when we did the player ratings show on Patreon, I said to Gonzo, I missed him. I missed Thomas Souček getting in the opposition box. He still does it for set pieces and that, but in open play, I might just have this incredibly wrong perception from what I've seen in the first half of last season. But I remember, I think, Souček getting in the opposition box. So when we crossed the ball, he was there alongside Antonio. I missed that. I want that Souček back. So in order to accommodate that, I think there needs to be someone else in there alongside Declan Rice, which allows Souček to get up the pitch And I think Manuel Lanzini is the answer to quite a few problems, actually. Not that Souček's a problem, but it just allows him to get into the box. And I think it solves a few things, Lanzini. You've done your scribbling. What have you wrote down?
Souček and Rice, Lanzini, Bowen and Fornals.
Bowen and Fornals, what, up front?
No, more Lanzini and Bowen, really, I think. Fornals sort of running around with Souček and Rice a bit, really. So, it's something a little bit different. Some people need to be punished, Geo, as you like to say. And there's some punishments going on in this. So, yeah, it's quite evident who's been dropped for this one.
No Michail Antonio.
No Michail Antonio for this one. I was close to putting him in because I still feel Antonio may well cause the centre-backs who I spoke so highly of earlier for Chelsea, might cause them some problems. That being said, you cannot allow, as I mentioned on the video that we did this morning, Antonio has no competition for places. And it's like he's turning up for work at the moment like he's somebody that's got no competition. He seems very... he's playing like someone who's cocksure that he's not going to get dropped. I think the best thing you can do with someone like that is drop him, just to demonstrate. Because I don't think there's anything wrong with him physically, actually. I think it's... I don't know. There's something... You've got to do something. You can't keep doing the same thing as we often say on this channel. And... you've got to shake it up a little bit. And if that's not physically, because I think he's probably all right, and it's got to be mentally. And I think you need a shot across the bows, and you may well find you have a very, very motivated Antonio with a point to prove sat on that bench. Possibly when you can keep it tight for 50, 60 minutes,
So I've got 3 players left. A striker, 2 wingers / inside forward / attacking, whatever you want to call them. Are you ready for a curveball?
I love it.
Up front, Jared Bowen. Not much of a curveball, is it? Right. But the other 2 players, Vlasic and Antonio. Get Antonio away from centre forward, but for some reason, I'd still play him. Now, for a bit of context, before someone tells me he's in poor form, deserves to be dropped, I would have liked to have seen him drop for the Brighton game, right? But funny enough, for some reason, I put him back in for this one. Because of the way we're going to have to play against Chelsea, I think we're going to need pace. I think we're going to need speed on the attack, and I don't think Fornals offers that. Benrahma's out of form at the minute just as much as Antonio is, possibly even worse in my opinion, because I think Antonio suffers from Benrahma's form more than Benrahma suffers from Antonio's form, if that makes sense. Antonio needs service. He's not getting any at the minute, and Benrahma's one of those players to provide it. I don't think Antonio's been doing enough up front. Naturally, originally, his position before he come to West Ham, he was a right winger, and I used to get frustrated with Moyes playing Benrahma in the number 10 role. Say, look, we picked him up as a left winger, play him left wing, and so I'm almost going to back to that a little bit. Antonio, we picked him up as a right winger. He still carries a threat. He keeps drifting wide anyway. I would like to see him in the winger position actually for this one. I think it would be a bit different. I think it would catch Chelsea out, and while Marcus Alonso is really going forward, I think defensively, I think he's a bit suspect actually, and I think if there's someone to get at, it probably is Alonso. Reece James and Azpilicueta on the other side of the pitch, defensively, Sam will struggle to get much joy down there, but that side, I think they're there to be got at. And Bowen's just an alternative up front. I think Vlasic, A, I think we need to shake it up, and B,
can't be any worse, can it?
Well, I'm a bit like you, Gonzo. I like his attitude. Has he done it yet? Not really, but what's he meant to do with 10, 15 minutes here and there? It's difficult to come on and make an impact. Masuaku came on and made an impact against Brighton. Unfortunately, it was to help Brighton score a bloody goal. But, at some point, we've got to get a tune out of Vlasic. But you're not going to get a tune out of him. You don't give him an instrument to play. It sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? But
absolutely.
It's got to the point, I'm like, let's try something. And I think this is something. Curveball. It's a bit of a curveball. Big game for a few players, Gonzo. Forget about what me and you want to see. This is now about what we're most likely to see, which is probably Antonio and possibly Bowen, Benrahma and Lanzini, maybe instead of Fornals or something. We might see 1 or 2 changes at the most. So, big game for a few players on Saturday?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's a massive game for the club. No, I think there's... I don't think it matters. I think Antonio can play poorly. I think Fornals can play poorly. I think Dawson can probably play poorly. there are a number of players who can have. I don't include Chris. There's a couple of players I'm not including in there, like because I think some players won't play poorly. Do you know what I mean? I don't think Rice would play poorly, but I do think there's 3 or 4 players who I don't think it is a big game for them. As I think they could have a crap game and they're playing the next game anyway. So. No, I don't think it is. But obviously a massive game for the club. Don't get me wrong. A massive, massive game for the club. Maybe a big game for Soufal. Maybe. Because it's quite tight with his spot. Moyes doesn't mind swapping that position around. But, no, not for the others. Unless he surprises me. But the thing is, Gio, I don't get the impression he's going to yet because he's not got the squad that he wants. I don't think Moyes looks on the bench and thinks actually I'd rather him than him. So no, look, if we had Lingard in the squad, you might have an argument. You might be able to say, he's really fighting for his spot or whatever. But we don't have the competition for places apart from at right back, really.
Yeah, it's quite sad to hear you say that in a weird way because I agree with you. And B, the only thing worse than a player playing poorly is a player playing poorly. He's going to continue to play poorly in the next game and he's going to still play the game after that. And I thought it was an important game for some players, actually, but I've sort of changed my mind listening to you, and I've decided I agree with you, actually.
I do apologise.
But I agree with you. I think, Dawson probably can play crap against Chelsea and still play against Burnley the following weekend as well. So, forget it. It's not an important game for many of them.
Please, don't forget to subscribe, yeah.
Yeah. Are you confident?
No. Sorry. Beg your pardon. Everyone's tuning out. We go, oh, no, who's this bloke? No, I'm not confident.
It's Christensen.
Absolutely.
You were at the minute.
Yeah, well, do you know what? At least I know what centre-backs Chelsea have been playing. I guess, people were tuned in to find out some positivity about West Ham, but they found out something about the Chelsea centre-back situation. There you go. The thing is, I've heard Moyes' comments, and Moyes is steaming about the VAR decision. So Moyes thinks we dropped points in that game because the VAR didn't go in our favour, and that's not why we dropped points in that game. So I'm not confident he will rectify the problem. That's not what happened. And if that's the thing is, Moyes, you don't know. He don't often. He's a bit coy. He can be a bit coy in the media and whatnot. But I did get the impression listening to him that he's a bit grumpy about it. And if that's the messaging he's giving to the players, we nearly, well done, lads. We were really close to winning that game. If it wasn't for that pesky VAR decision, we would have won that game. If that's the messaging he's giving out, rather than this ain't good enough, you cannot offer teams 80% possession, sit back, not offer a threat. Arthur, what were you doing there? If he's not dealing with all the issues that we discussed, particularly in more detail earlier this morning, player ratings video. If he's not dealing with that, and he's saying, "Oh, come on, lads, a little stroke of luck there," if that referee and whatever, then he sends out the wrong message. I can't be confident because I don't think he'll change anything.
Yeah, I'm a bit the same as you, really. I felt against Brighton was the first time, I say that, Wolves and Brighton were 2 games now that it felt a bit of old West Ham. And the one advantage of seeing old West Ham is this is the type of game we'll go on and win. So I'm hoping that we still see old West Ham against Chelsea if we can. Yeah. But I just, the Man City game was a bit of a barometer as to how we were going to face City and Chelsea. And then just round the corner, we've got Arsenal coming up and that. But it's hard to tell because I thought we did okay against City, but I wouldn't say we were in their faces. I wouldn't say we took the game to them. The snow then played a factor, which I don't really think we got to see what the true intentions and attitude was of West Ham. But like I said, I thought we played okay, but I just thought it was a funny game. It was hard to take anything from it. So I'm not that sure as to how much we are going to try and win this game against Chelsea because historically, under Moyes, we've been a bit white flaggish. And I suspect we will see 3 at the back against them. I suspect we will try and keep it 0-0 as long as possible. And we've just witnessed us surrender a lot of possession and yards on the football pitch to Brighton. And with the greatest of respect to Brighton, that's the type of football they play. Chelsea have got world-class players that will punish you. And you speak about what message and Moyes saying to the players. Well, we'll probably find out when the lineups come out at 11:30 on Saturday. And if they're all in the team again, then I would suggest that the message isn't quite what we were hoping for. But there's a part of me that's a little bit optimistic. And I don't really know why. I can't really justify it because I think we've still got good players. When we did the ratings earlier, 9 of the starting 11 got 6 as a minimum. There's 2
Yeah.
of them in particular got really bad marks. We agreed that some players had some good games, like Sufal, Rice, WHUCHE, they played well. So we were let down by whatever you want to call it, just not good enough on the night kind of thing. And as a one-off, that's okay, but it's not a one-off, is it? This is maybe the 4th game out of 6 that we're feeling like this, with the Liverpool win and the Man City game in there. That doesn't get that vibes. But no, I'm not confident, Gonzo. Can I get any final words from yourself, please, as well as your score prediction?
No, I would also agree that we are infinitely capable of winning this game. We really are, and we may do. I mean, we may well do if somehow you can get them clicking again. But I do. I can't remember exactly what I said earlier, but I made the comparison that he either changes something within the squad, or he waits for it to come good. He waits for that West Ham of 5-6 games ago to come back, and it could do. That could happen. As I don't think he will change it. And if that does happen, we're really capable of Antonio ragdolling the centre backs, Rice with a point to prove against Chelsea, which is he always will do, and I suspect he'll play well against them as well. But I find it hard to be confident, really, because it just. For all the reasons that we've said. So I don't think we'll get thrashed. I don't think we're too good to get thrashed by anyone, but I think maybe West Ham 0, Chelsea 2.
Yeah, I'm a bit like yourself, really. I think on our day, if we turn up and play as well as we can do, then yeah, be confident. This was after 8 games in the Premier League when we were in good form and stuff. I'd probably be predicting a West Ham win, actually, but this isn't the West Ham I've seen for the first 8 games of the Premier League. Things are catching up with this a little bit. Lack of squad depth, fatigue, whatever. Slight advantages. Chelsea have got a few injuries themselves going into this one. I think Jorginho might be back, which is bad news. He's the 3rd best player in the world, according to the Ballon d'Or. But I just don't. I'm not too confident either. I'm going to say West Ham 1, Chelsea 2 for Saturday afternoon. It's the first time myself and Gonzo both predicted a loss in the same game, I think. Could be wrong, but I think it is. But anyway, if you enjoyed this preview, drop a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. I'll be live at 11:30 on Saturday morning. Gonzo won't be here. Gonzo's away to the game. But you can join me at 11:25. 25 past 11, I'll be live on Saturday afternoon. Looking forward to see what David Moyes is announcing and hoping that there's a few players still missing for Chelsea. I'll catch you then.